Hi, Steve here from the Vinyl Record Mission, and today I'm going to share with you why I have chosen to go back to CDs. For starters, I can get $2,600 worth of country fried chicken for 25 bucks.
Your two favorite guys, Ryan and Steve from the Vinyl Record Mission.
So there's a lot of talk in the vinyl community about CDs making a very strong comeback. And I don't know, maybe some people are even selling all their vinyl records to go back to CDs. Well, I'm not one of those people. I have switched back to compact discs, and before last year, I was opposed to CDs. I was a vinyl purist, and everything is kind of a pretentious attitude. And I'm realizing as I get older and older that there's, one thing you can't argue, and that's taste. Everybody has different taste in what they collect, what they like to listen to. So I quickly started to realize, listening to the radio, that there was a lot of music that I was missing out on that never came out on vinyl. And then I was also aware of some very, very coveted records that are extremely valuable and unaffordable that I could find on CD. So instead of, remaining a pretentious spindle hole and refusing to listen to anything that wasn't pressed on 12-inch vinyl, I decided to get a CD player and add it to my system. And boy, I'm extremely happy that I did. The sound is amazing, and the music that I've been able to listen to now is absolutely worth it. And starting with a very rare record that I'll tell you a story. I had this record early on in my collecting period, and I needed to sell it because money was more important than having a valuable record in my collection. And it was this album right here. This is Bubba Thomas and the Lightning Men, Texas funk soul band. This is their album Country Fried Chicken. Yep. And this is going for a lot of money on vinyl. The two most recent sales are ranging from $1,700. I refuse to pay $1,700 for anything that is not near mint. Then there's another sale for $2,600 in 2022, and even that wasn't a near mint copy. This right here cost me 25 bucks. And I believe you can still find them online for 25 bucks on Discogs. There's not a lot because people are also charging in upwards of $50, $75, $100 for this exact same record. This is a kick-ass funk, soul, hard-hitting masterpiece. So, in doing that, I continued to search for records that I didn't have in my collection. And for those of you who know my Bill Evans passion, I'm a completist, but I don't have everything. But I probably have more of his discography than any other artist in my collection. And so this is one that I didn't have. And this was a concert that he did in 1980 at the Village Vanguard. And it was 3 months before his passing. And it was this CD box set right here. Turn Out the Stars. Oops. And you can see I still have my Goodwill stickers on there. And I cannot find this for less than $70 on Discogs. And after that, everything is in the hundreds. And this was $3.99, and I happened to get half off of these discs at Goodwill. So basically they were $2. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, $12 for minimum $70 purchase of Bill Evans' amazing recordings on these CDs. One of the songs that's on here was written for Joe LaBarber's daughter called Tiffany. And it before the 2024 release of Consecrations 2, which is this album right here. It's a Japanese pressing. This is a Record Store Day release in 2024. The song Tiffany was only available on compact disc. And that was on that particular box set that I just got until this album came out, and it is on this album here. So I was extremely happy to pick that up. Joe LaBarbera is one of my favorite drummers, and that was the last trio was Mark Johnson on bass and Joe LaBarbera on drums. Picking that up was a win-win for me because that is actually not available on vinyl, that Turn Out the Stars compilation of all those live recordings from the Village Vanguard. And of course, you can, all the songs that are on there, you can find on all of his previous works on vinyl. However, as a completist, I just had to have it. And it's, a performance with a different trio. You have to remember, Bill Evans had multiple trios throughout his career, starting with, Scott LaFaro and Paul Motian, and then Chuck Israels, Eddie Gomez. He's had, many trios. The last trio for the last 2 years of his life was Mark Johnson, bass, and Joe LaBarbera on drums. And they were reported to be some of the best performances that really rivaled Scott LaFaro and Paul Motian. So those are pretty high accolades. So that's another one that I'm happy to say that can't find on vinyl. So it justifies having a CD player so that I can listen to that. And then there's some other stuff out there, like this album right here from Ronnie Kuber, amazing saxophone player. This is not available on vinyl at all. And it's a very difficult CD to find. There's only one on Discogs, and it's like $50, I believe. That is another one that I was really happy to find. I heard that listening to K-Jazz on my way home from work, and I was like, what is that? Who is that? I got the name of the artist, and I looked it up, and I'm like, it's not on vinyl. Darn, I wanted it on vinyl. Turns out that it wasn't. So I ended up, biting the bullet and buying the CD, and I'm very happy that I did. Another one was that same situation, and this is Don Brayton. And this is his album, The New Hang, right here. And this is some more amazing jazz, just amazing kick-ass jazz. And it moved me to search the record and find out that it wasn't on vinyl. So I dropped a few dollars on a CD. This was released in 2004. Very happy to add that to the collection as well. And lastly, I just bought this record. I bit the bullet and I bought it. And I paid pretty price for it, $3.75. And it's this right here. This is Gap Mangione's Diana in the Autumn Wind. And I could have just bought the CD and saved myself a ton of money and maybe even put that towards a Blue Note original or something like that. But man, I couldn't pass up the opportunity of having this iconic record from Gap Mangione, 1968, just pop psych jazz masterpiece, sampled by numerous hip hop artists, namely Talib Kweli and Ghostface Killah did use this record to sample and create some amazing music of their own. So those are the reasons why I have chosen to switch back to CDs. However, I am not getting rid of my vinyl collection anytime soon. And I know that there's a lot of people that are joining the CD wagon. They're saying that they're making a comeback. And the other thing is that, you save a ton of money on these things. The Gap Mangione, this record right here, I mean, it's selling for minimum. If you're lucky, you can find one for $275. But whenever I'm spending that much money on a record, it has to be near mint. I do not want to pay top dollar for a VG or even a VG Plus. I save that condition for records, under $100. I'll pay for a VG Plus copy. So yeah, it gets a kind of challenging when you want to buy really great pressings because they're all getting so expensive. I mean, original pressings in near mint condition have gone through the roof in the last 2 years. It's very, very hard to find anything that's coveted in a VG double plus or near mint minus condition that isn't, in the 200, 300, 400. I'm seeing records going into the 500 and above $1,000 range. It does pay to just know what's out there and what's available to you in the way of music, because at the end of the day, it's about what you can listen to and what you want to listen to in your home, whether it be on vinyl or on CD or on MP3 or whatever your choice is. And don't ever let anybody tell you that one sounds better than the other, because they don't. They sound different. And that's the only argument that I have, is they sound different. And then you just describe what are those differences. These are just a few artists that have expensive records on vinyl that are pretty much out of reach for me and for many other people that don't have extremely deep pockets. And those artists also have those same records on compact discs. You can enjoy the music for a fraction of the price. You're probably not going to hear the $1,000 difference that it comes from listening to it on CD versus vinyl. So you're really not missing anything. It boils down to more of a collectability factor and a preference as far as audio goes. And then what kind of system you have. What are you playing these records on? Are you playing it on a $25,000 turntable? Well, then you might be able to hear the difference. If you've got, a $30,000 pair of speakers and, Macintosh tube amplifiers and all of that, there may be a distinctive sound difference and quality to the music than if you had just popped in a CD. I'm just happy to be able to listen to some amazing music, whether it's on vinyl or now on CD. I do not have an MP3 player. I will admit that. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of my decision to incorporate CDs into my listening repertoire and the reasons why. Thanks for joining me on this episode of the Vinyl Record Mission. And until next time, take care.
If you haven't, make sure you hit like and subscribe to the Vinyl Record Mission, so that way you don't miss out on any future content. More videos coming your way.